Okay, as always, welcome to the Bears Gym. Little Bible study today in 1 Samuel chapter 29. David has had somewhat of an alliance like the United Nations. It's kind of a somewhat of an alliance because, United Nations and NATO, they have nations that really aren't your ally truly, but they play the game. And David has got somewhat of an alliance with the Philistine king, kind of a pseudo alliance, because he's more allied with them than he is with his own country because their king is at war with him. So today there's kind of this is unfolding here. And the kingship of Saul is like the handwriting on the wall to the grandson of Nebuchadnezzar. Mina Tekel Uferson. You've been weighing the balances and time's just about up, basically. This is what the handwriting said on the wall, and this is pretty much what's going to be happening to Saul real soon here. But here we have the transition. And so let's begin. Now the Philistines gathered together all their armies to Aphek, and the Israelites pitched by a fountain, which is in Jezreel. And they have, like they did in the old days, what the Soviets did. They rolled out at a certain time of the year all their weapons and paraded them. This is basically what the Philistines are doing here, and David kind of joins them. And the lords of the Philistines passed by hundreds and by thousands, but David and his men passed by in the rears with Achish. He was one of the lords and the kings of the Philistines. Then said the princes of the Philistines, "What do these Hebrews here?" And Achish said unto the princes of the Philistines, "Is not this David, the servant of Saul, the king of Israel, which hath been with me these days and these years? And I have not found fault in him at all until this day." The princes of the Philistines were wroth with him, and the princes of the Philistines said unto him, "Make this fellow return, that he may go back to his place, which thou hast appointed him. And let him not go down with us unto the battle, lest in the battle he be an adversary to us. For wherewith should he reconcile himself unto his master, should it not be the heads of these men?" Basically is what he's saying. What if in the battle David turns on us and starts whacking off our heads to gain approval with the king of Israel, his master that's attacking him? Maybe they're thinking maybe he has a deeper ploy, And so, I guess anybody would think that, you don't really know. You don't really know why people come and, make alliances with you. Sometimes you just really don't know. And sometimes they turn on you, And so the Philistines are very concerned about David, and they should be. He was a great warrior. He had a small little company of soldiers in comparison to all their thousands, but still a threat. And they said, "Is not this David, of whom they sang one to another in dances, saying, Saul slew his thousands, but David his 10,000s." So they're giving a great attribute to David. Then Achish called David and said unto him, "Surely, as the Lord liveth, thou hast been with me now, and been upright, going out and coming in, with me in the host, and everything that is good in my sight you have done. For I have not found evil in thee since the day you have come unto me. Nevertheless, the Lord's favor thee not." And the consensus was to their little United Nations panel was, we don't want David in our midst, lest he turn on us and he could sway the tide of the battle. And they were right to do so, quite frankly. David, if he would have had a change of heart, if the Lord would have moved upon his heart, David very possibly could have turned the tide of the battle, but that was not the Lord's decision for this time. It was, I'll tell you this in advance, it is the Lord's decision for Israel to be defeated by the Philistines, because they have turned their back upon the Lord, and their king was in rebellion against the Lord. Nonetheless, David obeys the Lord and the king of the Philistines of his region. And he says to David, "Now return, go in peace, thou and thy company, for the lords of the Philistines are opposed to you being with us," basically is what he said. David said unto Achish, "But what have I done, and what hast thou found in thy servant so long as I have been with thee unto this day, that I may not go and fight unto the enemies of the Lord my king?" Achish answered and said to David, "I know that thou art good in my sight, as an angel of God himself. Notwithstanding, the princes of the Philistines have said, He shall not go up with us to the battle." Well, there's an interesting thing. David was a servant of God Yahweh, the God of Israel. David being the man that he was, it is very possible that this Achish came to a faith in the God of Israel during this time. Very possibly. "Wherefore now rise up early in the morning with thy master's servants that are coming with thee, and as soon as ye be up early in the morning and have light, depart." So David and his men rose up early to depart in the morning to return into the land of the Philistines, and the Philistines went up to Jezreel. So they were going to have their own little battle of Carchemish, and there was going to be a swaying of the tides of who's going to be the commandant of the region. Kind of Israel, fairly powerful, but their king is weak because he's turned against God. The Philistines sense it, so they've kind of made some incursions. They've kind of tested the ground, and now they're moving in. And they will be victorious. Because it is God's plan to take Saul out of the loop. Saul and his sons are going to be taken out of the loop, lest one of Saul's sons decide he needs to be king and not David. But the Lord creates a perfect scenario where Saul and his major sons, who could have been rulers, will be taken out of the way. Even though Jonathan has basically said, "One day I believe I'm going to stand by your side because my father is going to be taken out of the loop." He knew it. But it was God's design to move him out of the loop and on to his eternal home early. And God's plan was to put David upon the throne, period. Done deal. And so we're going to see more of that next time as we move along in 1 Samuel and 2 Samuel. And we get into the Kings, and the Kings kind of break it down kind of more in depth, and we get a broader spectrum. And when we get to the Chronicles, just a lot more, as it says, chronology, more lots of names to name all your ancestors, because we're gonna get hundreds of names that you've never really thought of naming your child, but a lot of interesting names, a lot of historical fact to connect with ancient timetables and so forth, which to me is very interesting because I love history. But that's for another time. For when we're sitting at the coffee shop drinking cups of coffee at the Bear Coffee Shop, right? So we'll pick all that up later. And from the Bears Gym, God bless you. Enjoy your day, and may the Lord be with you all. See you.